cool, friends. Today we're going to combine two lessons we've already done. So before, you've seen how to make t-shirt yarn, so we can use t-shirt yarn to weave, and I'll teach you something for today. And we've also learned how to do paper weaving. So it's kind of taking those two lessons and combining them into one awesome project. So if you haven't already watched those two YouTube videos, you'll want to check them out. Otherwise, you can just watch along and see what our project is going to turn into. Before we do our weaving project for today, we are of course going to start with our mantra so we can be super strong and ready for our lesson. So get yourself ready, prepare your mind, prepare your body, and prepare your creativity for us to start art. Here we go. My mantra: I am positive, I am creative, I am mindful, I am amazing, I am an artist. Okay, artists, the things that you'll need today are going to be any t-shirt yarn that you have hopefully previously made. Again, refer back to that video if you do not know how to use it or how to create it. And then you'll need a scissors just for cutting your t-shirt yarn and some sort of sturdy book. This is the best one that I can find, but even if it has a little floppiness to it, that's totally fine. But we're going to use the book as the warp for our project. That means the way that we weave our loom and kind of get it set up so that we have something to weave into. You'll need a sturdy book for that. So once you have all those tools collected, you might also need a little bit of tape to hold your t-shirt yarn onto your warp, and I'll explain how that looks in a second too. When you have everything collected, then we'll prepare ourselves to get started with our project. So first we're going to prepare to weave. Again, this is kind of like the basic paper weaving that we practiced before, but we're going to have our t-shirt yarn be connected to the front side of our book, and it's going to go up and down and up and down, kind of like a zigzag. But instead of wrapping it completely around the back like this, so that you have a bunch of wasted t-shirt yarn on the back side, we're going to tape those pieces so that we can have lines on the front and really not too much on the back. So the way to get started is to make a couple pieces of tape first and pick which color you'd like to start with your t-shirt yarn if you have a few different kinds of colors of t-shirt yarn that you created, but you're gonna tape one end to the back. Then come down to the front. Remember, those little tabs from when we pulled it all apart might show up a little bit, and that's okay. That's what makes your t-shirt weaving kind of interesting. But once you come all the way down to the front, then we're just gonna tape a little bit on the back. Okay, then we're gonna come back the same direction so that it makes a big, huge zigzag and come back up top. So our goal is to have long pieces on the front and just a few taped edges on the back. So I'm gonna tape again, and I'm gonna maybe make, I don't know, between 6 and 10 long pieces on the front. Once you have your loom set up, the front should look something like this with the long warp threads going from top to bottom, and the back just has a few little pieces taped on it so we're not wasting a bunch of the t-shirt yarn on the back of our book. Then when you're ready to weave, you can use anything to weave, like yarn, paper strips, paint brushes, twigs from outside, or any extra t-shirt yarn that you have, whether it be the same color or a different color. Sometimes I like to just cut pieces that are the same width so I can just do a strip at a time instead of having to get confused each time I start a new row. So if you want to weave this way, remember the pattern is always over, under for basic weaving. So if I start from this side and I go over this piece of red t-shirt yarn and then under the next one, over the next piece, under, over, under. And then I'm just gonna kind of slide this towards the middle. Then I can use the same size, cut another piece of my t-shirt yarn, but when I start this next row, it needs to be opposite from how I just wove. So this blue yarn was over, which means the next one needs to go under, over, under, over, under, over, and then I can slide these together. So I'm kind of going to start just making my big patch of my t-shirt yarn in the middle so I can have this really awesome coaster. Remember, friends, if you want to weave with one huge long piece of t-shirt yarn, you totally can. You just need to make sure that as you go around that last piece of warp thread that you're changing the direction. So for example, let's say this wasn't woven on the bottom and I go over, under, over, under, over, under, and I'm pulling that tight. Then when I go through with my next side, I need to make sure that I don't come underneath this again, otherwise I'm just gonna basically pull my thread, or pull my, it's called my weft thread, right back out. So you always need to make sure that it is opposite from how you just ended. So this one was under, so the next one would be over this red piece, then under, over, under, over, under, and pull tight. So you can certainly weave with one piece, and then you don't need to worry about the tails. But since I did mine in chunks, I'm gonna need to tie my tails together so that my weaving doesn't fall apart. So all I'm going to do is to find two little buddy tails that are next to each other and tie a little knot. That's gonna give me a fun little tassel, but of course you can finish yours however you would like. You can safety pin them together or clip them, but I'm gonna tie these little edges so that all of my weft threads that I wove through my loom are going to stay together. I love the way these little fringy tassels look, so I'm going to leave them, but you could totally trim them a little bit too. Now, to take it off the book, all you're going to do is carefully untape the back and then tie together the two connecting ends. So if I untape this part and pull it over to the front, just do one side at a time, now I can snip these apart and I'm just going to tie it like a shoelace to make sure that it stays. So if you pull the tape off and make a little tape ball on the side, then the best way to tie them, sometimes you can cut them in this loop, but realistically you can basically just tie that together too. So if I have my loop, let's line these up a little bit like this. I'm just gonna tie these two together because this is a little family right here, boop, and pull tight, double knot so I know it's gonna stay. And then these two little buddies are right next to each other here, so I'm gonna tie this one, pull tight like this, and then all of my warp threads that I had when I first made something stay together there. So I'm gonna do the same to this side. All right, friends, there you have it, a super simple t-shirt weaving. That's it. You can use it for whatever you'd like. I'm gonna have mine be my little coaster for my water cup, so it's got this fun little fringe around the outside edge. But you can make it as big or as small as you want, depending on what size you have as your warp or your loom when you start putting on your initial t-shirt yarn edges. So experiment with that and have an awesome time trying something new. Now, our meditation at the end is going to be just a quick one, and I'd like you to stretch up towards the sky in between each breath. So we'll do 3 deep breaths and a stretch to the sky in between. Okay, here we go. Put that one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and take that first deep breath. Relax your shoulders. And a stretch to the sky. Good, come back down, deep breath. Stretch to the sky. And one more deep breath. Good, working on moving just that belly, even something I need to practice. Remember, you are awesome, you are strong, you are resilient, and I love you. We'll see you next time.